Ankara lived through a night few will ever forget. On July 17, 2025, Turkey's capital was suddenly hit by a violent storm that no one saw coming. With no warnings or time to prepare, the city was left vulnerable to an overwhelming force of nature that turned its streets into raging rivers of mud. As many tried to return home during rush hour, the sky darkened without warning, and a brutal downpour began to batter every corner of the city. In a matter of minutes, the proud and modern capital was thrown into complete chaos. The water showed no mercy. It tore through the neighborhoods of Kioranin and Kichien with such ferocity that the drainage systems collapsed almost instantly. The streets vanished under a thick and aggressive torrent. Cars stuck in traffic were dragged downhill like toys. Ground floor homes flooded almost immediately, giving residents barely any time to react. Some were trapped inside, surrounded by a current that didn't let up, turning each moment into a desperate struggle to survive. As the night wore on, social media filled with shocking footage. Cell phone videos showed vehicles floating out of control, people trying to cross avenues waist-deep in water, and metro station entrances turned into waterfalls. Public outrage quickly followed. Citizens directed their anger at the lack of investment in infrastructure and the city's inability to respond to a climate emergency of this scale. But the storm didn't just hit the city center. In the Adnan Mandara neighborhood of the Kazulkam district, dozens of families were trapped as the water kept rising. 2 children were nearly swept away by the current, but were saved thanks to the courage of neighbors who risked everything to help. Sadly, many pets didn't survive and were found lifeless after the water receded. The scene was heartbreaking. Emergency sirens, empty streets, and anguish on the faces of those who lost everything in mere minutes. The storm's reach extended further. In Kazulkam, Kioranin, Kichien, and Saline, hail fell along with the rain. Ice slammed against rooftops and windshields as the streets quickly turned into shallow lakes. The wind was equally destructive, uprooting trees in districts like Kichien and Shinakaya, and in Kinjimama, part of a building's roof collapsed entirely. Ankara looked like it had been struck by something out of this world. Authorities responded quickly, though the scale of the disaster proved overwhelming. More than 1,800 vehicles and over 2,000 city workers were deployed in an attempt to manage the emergency. Crews cleared roads, rescued trapped residents, and began cleanup operations even as the threat of more rain lingered. The General Directorate of Meteorology warned that the bad weather would continue, bringing further risk of flooding, hail, and dangerous winds. The disaster revealed a long-standing problem: the collapse of Ankara's urban model. The city has expanded without control, covering its ground in concrete, blocking natural drainage paths, and neglecting critical investments in stormwater infrastructure. The consequences were undeniable. Just a few hours of rain were enough to paralyze the entire capital. The pressing question now is whether there will be political will to fix these flaws before an even greater tragedy occurs. In the meantime, the city is trying to recover. Officials are assessing the damage. Emergency crews remain active in the hardest-hit areas, and residents are doing their best to salvage what little they have left. But fear still lingers. Many wonder what would have happened if the storm had lasted a few more hours. That night, it wasn't just streets and homes that flooded. The public's faith in the system also collapsed, revealing a reality that can no longer be ignored.